I want to master every game from my childhood using RetroAchievements, a site that adds achievements to retro games, and today's game is... Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was released on the PlayStation 1 in 2001, alongside the film. It was called Sorcerer's Stone in the US, and that's the version that we're playing today with the achievements. And back in the day, I played the PC version, so I thought this would be a nice chill collectathon from my childhood. But little did I know that every version of this game that released on different platforms was an entirely different game. On top of that, the achievements for this game make it go from a casual cozy collectathon to one of the most stressful playthroughs of my entire life. With 61 achievements to grab in the PS1 version, and 41 missable achievements, oh god. Let's dive in. The game begins showing the start of Harry Potter's journey. We see Hagrid arrive with him as a baby, dropping him off with his step-parents, the Dursleys. We learn nothing about why he's called the Boy Who Lived or his original parents, but it's whatever. He gets a letter to join Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and after taking the train to the castle and being sorted into the House of Gryffindor, the game throws us straight into the castle to meet... Holy crap, what is that? Yeah, I forgot this is how humans looked on the PlayStation 1. Dumbledore looks like he's melting into himself. After talking to him, we are free to just roam the castle. And honestly, Hogwarts Castle surprised me. With this being a PS1 game, I totally forgot the scale of this game. Being able to journey around the entire castle and have more of it unlocked throughout the game is great. There's something new around every single corner. And speaking of which, here is our first achievement, the second most famous wizard, for finding the Merlin wizard card in Gryffindor Tower. These famous witches and wizard cards are the first collectibles in the game, and we need to be on the lookout for them, as there are 17 altogether. We find this wizard card by opening up a secret wall next to Fred and George. Throughout the game, Fred and George will give us the task to collect a certain amount of different flavours of Bertie Bott's every flavoured bean. The second collectible for us to be on the lookout for. The first beans we need to find are the Earwax beans, which are coloured yellow. We continue and run into Ron and Malfoy. Turns out, Malfoy has stolen our owl Hedwig, and we need to find her and get her back. This starts the tutorial for the game. We can climb, and the game auto jumps for us, which is a bit weird to get used to at first. We unlock the next section and bump into Nearly Headless Nick, who helps us at certain points of the tutorial, and has absolutely no need for punctuation.
Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Nearly Headless Nick, and I am the Gryffindor House Ghost.
He teaches us that we can free look by pressing triangle. We make our way up the room by climbing and jumping, picking up Hedwig feathers along the way, and towards the top, we find a chocolate frog, another collectible in this game. There are a certain amount in each, let's call them chapters, throughout the game, which we will need to find for certain achievements. In the next room, it's finally time to use some magic. By pressing X, we can use the Flipendo spell, which means I get to hear this for the next few days.
Flipendo! Flipendo! Flipendo!
The sparkles that you can see above the snails as I'm defeating them indicate that I can earn some house points here. House points are the final collectible throughout the game, and it's an important one, as it's going to cause me a huge headache throughout the game. For now, all you need to know is the house with the most points by the end of the game will win the house cup, so any points that we earn throughout the game will get us points for Gryffindor. We will return to the house points in just a little bit. In the next room, we learn that by holding X, I can use a stronger version of Flipendo and move objects around, and I earn some more house points. The next room shows a cutscene of a hooded figure who suddenly disappears. I move some objects and notice a chocolate frog that I can't reach just yet, so for now, I move on. Whoa, they did Neville dirty in this game. He looks like a disease. Anyway, we take out some flying books and finally find Hedwig. By releasing Hedwig, we get the achievement, Your New Delivery Pet, for freeing Hedwig from the cage that Malfoy put her in. Hedwig rewards us with a broom, so you know what that means? Flying lessons with Madam Hooch.
I am Madam Hooch, your teacher.
After getting jump scared by her, we learn to fly by holding X, and by going through these coloured rings that appear. It's a little hard to control at first, and these early flying lessons are no joke. We can get extra house points by finishing all of them, but I failed on the last one. Ah well, I'm sure that won't matter this early on, right? Next we meet Hermione. She leads us to our first lesson, and on the way, the Earwax beans have now started to appear in the overworld. There was even one in the flying lesson. I head back towards Fred and George and find the Gryffindor common room. In here, we get taught that there are also potions that we can pick up that will also heal us. These are to be collected with the chocolate frogs, which we can also find 2 of in the common room, and the next important item, which is a save book. We can only save whenever we find one of these save books, so remembering where they are is super important. We also get 3 save files, and this will be super useful later on. For now, we race to the next lesson, collecting as we go, and learn our next spell, Wingardium Leviosa. I remember on the PC version, to learn a spell, you would have to trace an image as accurate as you could, but here, we just have to tap the buttons on the controller, with this little light going towards them. them, so it's pretty straightforward. By doing this, we pop our next achievement. It's pronounced Leviosa, not Leviosa, for learning the Wingardium Leviosa spell in Charmed class. We use this spell to lift an hourglass on top of this wall, and the lesson is finished. As we leave, Hedwig drops off a letter from Hagrid, asking us to meet him at the castle grounds. But before heading there, we can now explore another room in the castle, the Great Foyer. Here, we can find some rooms with a bunch of beans to collect while trying to avoid the knights that are attacking us. Then, I found another hidden room behind a bookcase, which revealed our next wizard card and our next achievement, a name in English and Parseltongue, for finding Salazar Slytherin's wizard card. We can earn another wizard card in the next secret room. This kid has had his items charmed, so we have to hit them with Flipendo to give them back to him. There are chocolate frogs, pumpkins, and cauldrons, and after hitting all of them, he rewards us with another wizard card and an achievement, writing about Muggle heresy, for completing the minigame in the Great Foyer to earn the Cornelius Agrippa card. The Great Hall is also opened up, and after exploring bits of the castle I have currently unlocked, here I can grab the last few earwax beans to pop the achievement, not one toffee flavoured bean in sight, for collecting all of the earwax beans. By returning back to Fred and George, we show them that we have collected all of the earwax beans that they asked for, and in return, they give us a password, Fizzy Pop, which we can use in this room for this portrait, which unlocks the achievement, Every Seeker's Favourite Broom, for collecting all 50 earwax beans to earn the Nimbus 2000. Nice! Up next is the first annoying achievement of the game. Malfoy is currently blocking the door that we need to get through, so we have to have a fight with him. In this fight, he throws wizard crackers at us. All we have to do is pick up the ones that he throws at us and throw them back at him to hurt him. Alright, that's not too bad. After hitting him a couple of times, he calls in crab, and I just need you guys to watch this.
Crab!
Now, Malfoy has super wizard crackers, and Crab is throwing the regular ones at us. Okay, this is getting a little bit harder. On the final phase of the fight, Goyle also gets called in.
Crab, you idiot! You're supposed to protect me! Goyle, get in here!
And now, we have to avoid all three of them, whilst also trying to throw the crackers back at Malfoy. So why is this boss fight so difficult? Well, a set of achievements in this game are earned by doing boss fights without getting hit. And my god, no matter what, I always got hit towards the end. The worst thing about this, every time I got hit, not only did I have to start again, I had to sit through every cutscene of Crab and Goyle and Malfoy over and over again. And after an entire hour of struggling, I finally defeated them, earning 2 achievements. British 4th of July celebration for defeating Malfoy in a duel of wizard crackers, and it's dangerous to play with wizard crackers for defeating Malfoy in a duel of wizard crackers without getting hit. After the duel, we get a cutscene showing the current house points. This happens after each chapter in the game, and as we can see, Gryffindor is currently winning, which is good, right? After that duel, what could possibly be our next reward?
Hello, Harry, it's me, Hagrid.
The absolute legend himself, PS1 Hagrid. Look at him. He lets us know that Herbology class is about to start, so we rush over there. As I'm trying to get to class, I notice some new blue beans, so I go out of my way to collect them, and after pushing all the objects around, I ended up being late for class, and this was the moment that would eventually cause me to restart the entire game. For being late, Professor Sprout takes 5 points from Gryffindor. We learn a brand new spell, Incendio, which is used to cast fire on certain enemies or objects, and by doing this, we get the achievement, "Oh, you got a license for that wand, bruv?" for learning the Incendio spell in Herbology. Up next is some flying lessons, but those 5 points being taken away from Gryffindor really got me worried. So I checked out more of the achievement list, and I found some achievements that require us to have a very certain amount of house points by the end of each chapter, meaning I have to start my save all over again, as I've missed quite a few house points by now, and even some chocolate frogs. Hey, with 41 missable achievements, this was bound to happen, but in order to make this so much easier, I may as well just do a 100% playthrough from the very start. Running back through the tutorial, I even got an extra achievement for getting all the chocolate frogs this time. Frog Frenzy at the lower castle, for collecting all of the chocolate frogs at the lower castle. I missed this one last time due to the area being locked off, and not being able to go back into it after the tutorial had finished. Speaking of locked off areas, we have the early flying lessons again. There are 3 in total, with the final one being the hardest. And all of these lessons have to be done back to back in order to earn the max amount of house points from Madame Madam Hooch. This took me a solid half an hour of trying, then having to restart and get back to the flying challenges again. Eventually, I got all of the house points. You see, while I was looking up how to get the house points, it turns out this game, with how old it is not very well documented. But luckily someone on RetroAchievements has made this spreadsheet, which helps with all the beans, house points, wizard cards, chocolate frogs and potions. I need to say a massive thank you for this spreadsheet, because without it, I would have probably had to do about 7 playthroughs, because some of the stuff is super easy to miss, especially with the areas that lock you out after leaving. Thanks to the guide, this time I got all of the house points. The house points in the first section of the game are given for killing snails, moving blocks into position, destroying cobwebs and killing rats, taking out the books, doing the flying lessons, moving the hourglass and this one random candle, getting all these butterflies for Hagrid by going back into the flying lessons, and moving these 2 hourglasses before taking on Malfoy in the wizard cracker fight. Now you can see why this spreadsheet was a blessing. For doing all of this, we get the achievement Starter Spark, for getting a total of 120 points for Gryffindor on the first house point hourglass recap. Oh, alright, we are finally back on track. I'll be using all 3 of my save files from now on to make sure I'm saving at important parts of the game, so I don't miss out on anything and I don't need to restart all over again. We begin by heading into a forest area and we have a puff skein. By getting it to eat the plants, I can collect more beans. Heading further into the forest, we find Hagrid's hut. Hagrid asks us to bring him some fire seeds. As we head further down, Neville comes running at us to warn us about a monster. This monster will be our next boss battle, and yes, it's another one that I have to do without being hit. It's a warthog gargoyle, which moves around and flies super fast. I managed to hit it with Flipendo while dodging its attacks, and somehow defeated it on my first try, much easier than Malfoy. Using Wingardium Leviosa, I move it back into place to pop 2 achievements. So long as this gargoyle doesn't sing, for putting the living gargoyle back on its pedestal, and it's only a statue, for doing it without taking any damage. Before leaving, I tried attacking these textures on the walls, as they don't look real, but nothing happened, so for now, I moved on. In the next area, we find our first potion. Potions are the other collectibles alongside the chocolate frogs, but they also heal us when picked up. Then I headed further into the forest, avoiding lava, using puff skeins to get up to high places, collected beans, used a wang lever, hopped over some platforms above some lava, and used Incendio on this plant at the end to collect the fire seeds for Hagrid. After returning them back to Hagrid, we got the achievement How to Hatch Your Dragon. For giving the fire seeds back to Hagrid, needed to hatch Norbert. We put down the fire seeds and Norbert hatches out of the dragon egg, and Hagrid gives us a book as a reward. Leaving Hagrid's hut, we bump into Ron, who takes us to the Quidditch pitch. But before we can enter, Neville shows up saying that Malfoy had stolen his rememberall. So it's up to us to get it back. Another Malfoy boss fight. Ah, here we go. I don't know why this blonde bastard has the worst fights in the game, but here we are. For this fight, we must chase down Malfoy on our broom. We just have to get close to him, and then by pressing square, we are able to hit him. We have to do this by flying a super tight course and also dodging the bludgers he keeps throwing at us. This is a super easy fight, but doing it hitless is just an absolute nightmare. And to make things worse, there are 3 chocolate frogs that also need to be collected throughout the boss fight, and you can't return to this area later on. I ended up rage quitting this after my first day of playing the game, and returned the next day to finish it on my first try. Has anyone ever had that? When you try something for so long and then you leave it for a bit, come back, and it's done on the first go. I swear it always happens. For defeating Malfoy, we popped 2 achievements. Broom on Broom Violence for retrieving the rememberall from Malfoy, and Not a Scratch on That Broom for retrieving it without taking any damage. So, what about those chocolate frogs? Well, this is where having 3 save files comes in handy. Now that I have the 2 Malfoy achievements, I can load back into the level from my previous save, and collect the chocolate frogs without having to worry about doing the battle perfectly. After the battle, we give the rememberall back to Neville, and Professor McGonagall finds us and tells us that she was impressed with our flying skills, and we will now be competing in the next Quidditch match as the new Gryffindor Seeker, which starts right now. Quidditch is actually super easy on this game, which is crazy because I remember it being super difficult on the PC, but I was also a kid back then. All we have to do is fly through the coloured rings made by the golden snitch, and after doing this until the bar at the bottom is full, we get a chance to time a capture on the snitch. Once captured, we win the Quidditch game for Gryffindor, and pop the achievement, the Quidditch season opener, for winning the Gryffindor vs Hufflepuff match during the adventure mode. After Quidditch, Professor Snape finds us and blames us for taking the book that Hagrid gave to us. He then asks us to find a missing sloth brain and bring it to potions class. Ron then opens up an extra section of the forest for us to explore. We find a plant that we defeat with Incendio and earn some house points. And by pulling up all 4 of these mushrooms, not only do we get more beans, but we can also earn some extra house points. And just around the corner, we find the sloth brain needed for Professor Snape. By leaving the area, we get the achievement achievement Halfway to Glory for getting a total of 250 points for Gryffindor on the second house point hourglass recap. I then leave the castle to find Fred and George for a second time, who give me another portrait password for collecting 70 blueberry pie beans. The password is Catweasel, which is funny because on my way to the portrait, we find a student whose kitten has fallen down this well, which we will need to find later on. By using the password on the portrait, we get the achievement Nitwit Blubber Oddment Tweak for collecting 70 blueberry pie beans to earn the Albus Dumbledore wizard card. Before delivering the sloth brain to Professor Snape, it's time to explore the rest of this area to make sure we wrap up as much as possible before moving on and getting locked out of the area. My next achievement was for finding and completing minigames, and for the life of me, I couldn't find them until I came across this weird wall texture again and pressed a button and it opened. So my hunch earlier on about the wall texture was correct. I have no idea how a kid is supposed to find these areas, by the way. These are hidden more than the Chamber of Friggin' Secrets. For this minigame, I just had to collect all the pink beans while avoiding getting hit. For doing this, we popped the achievement The Wizarding World's Coyote Peterson for completing the minigame near the Puffskein area to earn the Derwent Shimpling wizard card. Behind the next hidden wall was the final chocolate frog needed for the achievement Wiggenweld Wanderer for collecting all of the chocolate frogs and drinking all the Wiggenweld potions at the castle grounds. In the same area, by looking up, we find our next wizard card to earn the achievement Take a Trip to Hogsmeade for finding the Hengist of Woodcroft wizard card near Hagrid's hut. We enter another hidden room to play the same minigame as before. To grab the achievement Where's the Beast Newt for completing the minigame near Hagrid's hut to earn the Newt Scamander wizard card. The final hidden minigame is behind this wall. After finishing the minigame, we get the achievement Keeping Her Away from Any Scabbards for completing the minigame near the entrance to the Quidditch pitch to earn the Morgan Le Fay wizard card. In the final hidden room, we collect the last few blueberry pie beans to earn the achievement I Feel Funny for collecting all of the blueberry pie beans. With that, we have finished everything in this section of the game, so all that's left is to drop off the sloth brain with Professor Snape to begin the next section. To find Professor Snape, we head into the dungeons. The dungeons is the next area of the castle for us to explore, so of course, we bump into Fred and George once again. In the dungeons, they want us to find troll bogey beans, so we need to be on the lookout for green beans. Disgusting. Heading into the potions lesson, we get the achievement Rated B for Brains for giving the sloth brain to Snape. While in potions class, we have to play a quick minigame by tapping the buttons that appear on the screen. Snape then sends us to grab a jar of fireflies from the next room, but as we entered, the hooded figure is also in there and shoots the ground beneath our feet, sending us further into the dungeons. In the next room, we can see these little trolls walking around, which stand on these grids once in a while. By throwing the puffer pods at them, they sneeze, causing them to fall through, which give us house points and a bean. After doing this to both of the trolls, we move into the next room, and we can hear the student at the top of the well this time. So it's time to find a little kitty. And when I say little, look at the size of this thing. We get it to follow us all the way back, and then by using Wingardium Leviosa, we lift it all the way through the bars back to the student, who rewards us with a wizard card, getting the achievement A Wizard's Own Personal Alarm for helping Raymond get his kitten back in the dungeons to earn the Edgar Strudler wizard card. Up next was a room with some levers and beans to collect. By pulling one of the levers, it opened up a door that led to this crazy ass room. In here, we have to use Flipendo on the moving cauldrons to stop them, and one by one, stop and jump to each one of them to make it across the room. There were so many times I almost fell in, but I made it right to the end and pulled the lever, and grabbed the chocolate frogs and beans as I left. The other room had a sleeping troll, but lucky for us, it doesn't wake up, allowing us to grab all of the items in the room and pulling the last lever to move a platform. By using Wingardium Leviosa on this cage, we can grab a key. The key unlocks the Firefly room. In here, we have a couple more trolls to defeat for house points, and then we finally find the Fireflies for Professor Snape. As we return back to class, we unlock the achievement, turn to page 394, for giving Snape the Fireflies from the dungeon's Firefly room. It's time to head to our next class, Defense Against the Dark Arts. On the way there, I had to collect beans and jump across these magical flying books to bump into Professor Quirrell. And I know he has a stutter in the film, but did they really have to put it on this much?
Welcome, young Mr. Potter, to Defense Against Dark Arts. You're just in time. Class, I'm Professor Quirrell, and this is your Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson.
For this lesson, we had to learn the spell
Verdimillious.
After tapping the correct buttons, we earn the achievement This spell takes 20D batteries to use for learning the
Verdimillious
spell in Defense Against the Dark Arts. The spell is used for bringing objects in the darkness back to the light, so we can use them. By casting it on these platforms, they become solid, and we can now cross the room, and we even earn some house points for doing so. As we leave, we bump into Hermione, who talks about heading to the upper castle castle. But before we meet her there, it's time to explore more of the dungeons. Heading into this room, we can use our brand new spell to cross the platforms. This leads into a minigame where we have to move these cauldrons into position, and for doing so, Nearly Headless Nick gives us a wizard card and pops our next achievement. The future is now, old woman, for completing the second puzzle of the minigame before the curses area of the dungeons to earn the Cassandra Flablansky wizard card. Jesus, Flablansky. People just have normal names in this game. Cassandra Flablansky. By finding some more hidden rooms behind some bookcases, we complete 2 more cauldron puzzles for 2 more achievements. Famous for his golden balls, for completing the first puzzle and earning the Bowman Wright wizard card, and Godric, the bravest man in the world, for completing the third puzzle and earning the Godric Gryffindor wizard card. Next up was a pretty big section. This door has a curse on it, and we have to find and defeat a bunch of enemies in order to get rid of the curse. But the enemies are found in a massive section of the castle that is basically a maze. Here, we find a ton of beans and also some potions. In the next room, we meet Peeves, a ghost who is here just to piss us off. After insulting us, he just leaves.
Young Potter, you're ugly, but what can we do? Everyone says you belong in a zoo. If you look in a mirror, it surely will crack. The best thing to do is wear a nice sack.
While exploring the big section, we find platforming challenges, lots of beans, the first mini-boss to open up the door, which is a bunch of green eyeballs. Once defeated, it leaves the door and we get some points, and there are 3 more eyeballs to find. While searching, we find objects to move for points, turtles that summon fire from the shells, some chocolate frogs, the yellow eyes that we defeat. I got lost, fought some enchanted knight armor, defeated the red eyes, got lost again, earned some more house points, and finally found my way to the final eye boss, where the room had 4 more chocolate frogs to collect, unlocking the achievement Dungeon Dweller for collecting all of the chocolate frogs and drinking all of the Wiggenweld potions at the dungeons. For defeating the final eye boss, the cursed door was finally opened up. As I headed back and went through the door, I collected the last lot of troll bogey beans to grab the achievement. To some, this is a delicacy, for collecting all of the troll bogey beans. Now that we had all the troll bogey beans, it's time to head back to Fred and George to grab our reward. The next portrait password was Wanglewort, which sounds like an STD, and by entering the portrait, we get the achievement Better Than Your Robe Armor, for collecting all 80 troll bogey beans to earn the Quidditch armor. With that, we are finally done with the dungeons, and we can move on to the upper castle. And as we enter, oh my god, these guys are everywhere. Now they want me to collect chili powder beans? I hate spicy food, but fine. And then we head to Transfiguration class. There's a time limit to get there and a bunch of beans to collect along the way. As we enter, oh god, she's coming right for us. Why did we get such an ugly close-up? Jeez. Well, with that, it's time to learn our next spell, Aviforce. I love the way Harry says this one.
Aviforce!
By learning the spell, we get the achievement. I'm sure this will be helpful in the Muggle world, for learning the Aviforce spell in Transfiguration class. The spell allows us to turn bird statues into animals, and it also gets us our last few house points needed for this chapter of the game. Popping the achievement Gryffindor's Roar, for getting a total of 345 points for Gryffindor on the 3rd house point Hourglass recap. Back in the upper castle, by using our new spell,
Aviforce!
we can get back up to this door. As we enter, Hedwig drops off an item for us to pick up, but before we can grab it, Peeves shows up and steals it. So we need to chase him and get it back. But before we do that, let's enter this hidden room behind the bookcase. It's a minigame where we have to follow a kitten and collect 10 beans. And for doing so, we get the achievement, the David Beckham of Quidditch, for completing the minigame in the upper castle to earn the Roderick Plumpton wizard card. Up next was a really fun section. We just have to chase Peeves through this course, filled with slides, jumps, and a lot of collectibles. It's been a while since I've had a bit of fun with this game, and I've just been able to relax without worrying if I'm going the right way. Hey, I've won the race. Now to just wait for Peeves to show up. Peeves? Hello? Oh, of course the game crashes on the part I'm having the most fun with. Absolutely typical. Let's run it back. I grab all of the collectibles and win the race, getting our package back. And it turns out to be an invisibility cloak. Nice. Perfect timing to get the cloak, as this next section wants us to avoid Filch and his cat, and make it through each section without being detected. On the PC version, I remember being absolutely terrified of being captured by Filch, but on the PS1 version, this was very easy. I raced through the sections towards the end to get to this room, where we get the achievement, What is your deepest desire? For reaching the Mirror of Erised in the Forbidden Corridor. We get another storybook cutscene showing Harry looking into the mirror to see his deepest desire of his parents still being alive. My deepest desire is for you guys to hit the subscribe button. Dumbledore shows up to explain that the mirror is to be moved to a new location, and as the cutscene ends, we find Ron, who warns us that there's a troll now on the loose. Jeez, can we just have a break or a nap in the school at some point? Come on, dude. Here is where the game just takes a massive turn in difficulty. Every time I think things are gonna get better, it just gets even harder, and it all starts here. This is probably the section of the game that a lot of people remember. As we enter the hole in the wall, we immediately find the troll, and it begins a chase scene. Similar to the Crash Bandicoot's boulder levels, we must run away from the troll while collecting every frog and bean along the way. We have jumps and tight sections to avoid, and I failed this section a lot. If I was doing this without worrying about the items, it would be super easy, but some of these collectibles were just straight up mean. There was this jump here that starts before the section even begins, so most of the time I would either miss the frog, have to go back and get my ass trampled by a troll, or I would fall into the monster energy. Then, the worst bean to collect in the entire game. This one chili bean is slightly raised, meaning you have to jump at it in a very certain direction in order to pick it up. I was trying to complete this section for over half an hour, and when it was finally done, I got the achievement Frogs of the High Towers for collecting all of the chocolate frogs at the upper castle. Now it's time for the boss fight against the troll, and we don't even get to save beforehand. Alright, he's throwing stuff at us. Are you kidding me? The first thing hits me. Yep, as you probably guessed, this is another hitless boss. Luckily, I've saved before the troll chase, so I can attempt this again, but for now, I decided to do the first achievement, Thought You Ought to Know, for knocking out the troll with his own club. Now to quit the game and restart the troll chase to try the boss hitless. Well, I would if the game would actually let me. It just throws us straight into the next part of the game. You know what? I could actually go for some Quidditch right now. So, I won the game against Ravenclaw, grabbing the golden snitch to unlock the achievement Harry Potter 64 for winning the Gryffindor vs Ravenclaw match during adventure mode. Alright, back to this crap. By now, after all the practice I've had, I can easily get through all 3 sections of the troll chase, which, by the way, is so many sections for a troll chase without a break. The worst thing is, whenever I got to the boss, the second Harry or Ron got hit by a toilet, I have to do the whole chase all over again just to have another attempt at it. After a few more attempts and about half an hour later, the second achievement popped, Crack Shot Wizard, for knocking out the troll with his own club without letting any toilets hit Harry or Ron. We head back into the Quidditch section and Hagrid tells us about Fluffy, his 3-headed dog that is guarding something for someone named Nicholas Flamel, or as they call him in this game,
Who's Nicholas Flamel?
Of course, by using our save books, we have already done the Quidditch match. The only thing we missed from the story is that Hagrid's pet dragon Norbert is now very sick, so we have to travel to Diagon Alley in order to buy the ingredients needed for a tonic to heal him. After the troll chase and Hitler's boss, this game can't possibly get harder, right? Wrong. Welcome to Gringotts, bitch, where I'm guessing a lot of people's 100% playthroughs finished. We head to Gringotts Bank to grab some money in order to buy the ingredients. But there's a twist. In order to get our money, we have to enter into the vaults. At first, the goblins have us run around on this super slippery floor in order to unlock the first vault. Remember that this is the first vault of 3. So, how do we get our money to buy the stuff? By doing this insane minigame. Whoever invented this minigame, I hate you. Straight up, I hate you. Harry and the goblin are on this minecart, and the way we control it is by using our weight to move side to side or all the way around. We can lock the minecart into position by holding X. Now, why is this so difficult? Well, you can see the coins that I'm trying to grab, which honestly is no problem, as long as I avoid the wooden planks so I don't get hit. Just collecting the coins would make this a breeze. But oh no, the developers wanted you to hate this part of the game. In the top left, when it warns about upcoming coins, you can see a gem appear. There are a certain number of gems we need to collect in each vault, and we have to grab all of them. In the first vault, there are a number of sections where we have to collect all of the coins and all of the gems. Look at this. It wants me to 360 around to get the coins, and then straight after, do another 360 to grab the gems. This is insane and I hate it. Just to learn the first vault route and the mechanics of the minecart, I was at this for 2 hours, and by some miracle, I finally collected all of the gems to pop the achievement, Better Transit System Than London's, for collecting all of the gems in Vault 1 of Gringotts to earn the Ignatia Wildsmith wizard card. I saved the game on my middle save. In case anything goes wrong, I will never be doing that again in my life. Lol, JK, there's 2 more vaults to go. Now it's time for the second vault, and I won't lie, this did put me off playing the game for a few days. The minigame was stressful, it gave me motion sickness, and stressed me out. But I took the time to learn the mechanics a bit more. I discovered that by getting the minecart to turn upside down so that the middle part was about here, I could turn and lock the cart to move it a lot more freely to grab the gems a lot more consistently. For the 360 parts, it was all about using the weight of either Harry or the goblin depending on the way it wanted me to turn. I would raise one so that the minecart would make it all the way around with the extra momentum. The second minecart didn't take me as long to learn, and I got the achievement, A Risk with Every Mouthful, for collecting all of the gems in Vault 2 of Gringotts to earn the Bertie Bot Wizard card. Now onto the third and final minecart. The final minecart added a new way to grab coins. We had the standard coins that you just need to lock in to grab. We have the 360 coins, but now we had what I like to call the swinging coins. We had to just swing left and right in order to collect the coins and the gems. On one of my very first attempts, I got every single gem by some miracle, but I didn't collect enough coins, so the game made me do it again. On the other 2 minecarts, the coins were a lot easier to grab and keep, but this final one had more wooden planks and harder coins to grab. So not only do I have to grab all of the gems, but I have to perform the best minecart movement the world has ever seen. And after an hour of learning this final route, it was finally over, and I unlocked the achievement, Hope She Doesn't Use Old Betsy on You, for collecting all of the gems in Vault 3 of Gringotts to earn the Helga Hufflepuff Wizard card. Those 3 achievements might be the most frustrating achievements I've earned on this channel so far, and after a few days, it's finally time to get back on track with the story. Next, we head into Diagon Alley, with our money to grab the ingredients for Hagrid. At each stop, there is a small task to complete in order to grab the items. The first task is to find this frog in the boxes without destroying all of the boxes. First item down. The next item we can get by chasing this peacock around to grab 3 feathers. This one was annoying, but I managed to do it just before the time ran out. For the final task, we have to use Wingardium Leviosa to float treats over to this specific owl, without the other owls stealing the treats. After getting all of the items, we find Hagrid again and head back to Hogwarts. Getting the achievement, a spoonful of ashes helped the medicine go down, for giving Hagrid the ingredients to cure Norbert. We then get the next storybook cutscene. Norbert is now old enough to live on his own, so the gang take him up to the tower so that Ron's brother Charlie can take him to Romania to live with the other dragons. However, because of this, the gang get caught, and as punishment must head into the Forbidden Forest with Malfoy and Hagrid to search for a wounded unicorn. The Forbidden Forest area wasn't too crazy. Throughout it, I found hidden areas full of chocolate frogs and beans, used my spells to clear the way, earned some more house points by dropping more trolls down some grates, used Incendio on this plant to collect the last house points for this chapter, mixed and created a potion, had multiple fights against some turtles, before finding the final 2 chocolate frogs to pop the achievement Forest Forager, for collecting all of the chocolate frogs and potions in the Forbidden Forest. Before leaving, I ran through 2 more areas to collect the final 4 beans needed to get the achievement Sean Evans Awaits Your Reply, for collecting all chili powder beans. Then, by looking up, I found the final wizard card of the playthrough to get the achievement Quoth the Ravenclaw Nevermore, for finding the Rowena Ravenclaw card in the Forbidden Forest. We make our way out of the forest by burning some vines and climbing up to the top, popping our next achievement, a Splitting Headache, for finding the wounded unicorn in the Forbidden Forest. Then, we get a cutscene. Once again, we find the hooded figure and Harry faints like a little bitch. The storybook opens up to reveal he was saved by Ferenz the Centaur, who told Harry that the hooded figure is Lord Voldemort. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time in the entire game Voldemort has actually been mentioned. Hagrid thanks us for helping him out in the forest and warns us not to go looking for Lord Voldemort. So, it gives us an instrument which can be used to find Lord Voldemort. I swear, this game and this plot is stupid. We practice by playing music for Hedwig. Hedwig falls asleep and we then talk to Ron and Hermione. They mention that the Sorcerer's Stone can grant eternal life to its user, which is why Voldemort is after it. Ron and Hermione go to wait for us on the 3rd floor of the castle to get past Fluffy, but before we head there, we have some stuff to wrap up. Going back to the upper castle, we speak to Fred and George to show them all of the chili beans, and in exchange, they give us the final portrait password, Wolfsbane. Behind this portrait is the achievement, Hollow Point Magic Spells, for collecting all 100 chili powder beans to earn the knockback Jinx Mind duel spell. I mean, it says it's an upgrade, but I didn't really notice much of a change. We head to the 3rd floor to take on the final sections and boss fights of the entire game. And here, we get a pretty big achievement. Straight A+ student for getting a total of 390 house points for Gryffindor before reaching Fluffy. The house points were an absolute pain in this game, as it's easy to miss even the smallest ones if you don't explore literally everywhere in the castle. But again, thanks to the spreadsheet, I was able to find everything as I went. Now, the real challenges of the game begin. Our first task on the 3rd floor is to get past— holy crap, that might be the scariest dog I've ever seen in my life. We have to play music to get past Fluffy, and as scary as this 3-headed dog looks, it was pretty straightforward to play the notes and get past him. We fell down a trapdoor straight into a devil's snare, a big ass thorny plant. Ron and Hermione get trapped behind some vines, so it's up to us to defeat the plant on our own. All we have to do is cast a strong Flipendo on each of the highlighted vines to bring out the main vine of the plant. Then starts a mini boss fight, which thankfully we didn't have to do hitless, but we also don't get an achievement for doing it either. I basically ran, charged Flipendo to hit it, and repeated it until it was dead. Ron and Hermione were freed, and we ran into the next task. Here we had to use our Quidditch skills by flying a broom to chase after a key needed for the next door. With how much flying I've done throughout the game, this was the easiest task to complete, and I grabbed the key right away. Next, we find ourselves in a hallway. Time to relax a little bit. By heading into the secret area, I collected some more chocolate frogs and managed to save the game, which is a huge help, and then we went on to the next task, wizard chess. This is basically a puzzle with chess pieces. You can move one space at a time, and our goal is to bait all of the other pieces into killing each other. Once one piece takes out the other, it also gets destroyed. And I won't lie, I'm dumb as balls, and there are 3 chessboard puzzles to finish. But after a lot of trial and error and trying out different ways to complete each chessboard, I finally finished it and made my way to the next room. We find another secret room in the hallway where we can save, so I no longer have to keep redoing the chess puzzles over and over again. I collected a few more chocolate frogs and then followed Hermione into a room with a sleeping troll. The troll is that sleepy that it starts sleepwalking down the hallway, and we have to use Wingardium Leviosa by whispering to move the items out of its path.
Wingardium Leviosa.
By doing this, we bait it into a hole at the end of the corridor, and we head into the next room. It's a quick puzzle and fight where I have to choose where this knight with the blue shield ends up. I have to find the correct bell that it's located underneath, and then fight it. By defeating him, I can get an ice potion, but there's only one. So, Hermione heads back to check up on Ron, and we head through the black fire into the final hallway. We collect a couple of chocolate frogs, and head into the boss room. In this boss room, we see Voldemort, who brings 2 of the knights on each side to life. I run past them and grab the second to last chocolate frog and defeat the 2 knights and then another 2 knights in a fight. Voldemort then awakens a giant knight's armor, and of course we have to defeat this one without taking damage. The knight can only be hit after he has swung down his sword to reveal himself. The controls here are a bit weird with the new camera angle. We have to run towards him, bait him into attacking, and straight away move backwards. And the amount of time I got hit accidentally while trying to avoid his attacks was insane. Later on in the fight, he starts to swing the sword twice, and then again for 3 times, to try and trick you into getting hurt. I had to keep resetting the game, do the whole troll section and knight puzzle before fighting him again. It took about 5 attempts of this before I realised that if I just let him kill me, it'll start me in the hallway just before the knight fight. But eventually, after a lot of restarts, I ended up defeating him, unlocking 2 achievements. It's just a flesh wound for defeating the giant armor boss before Voldemort, and the wand is mightier than the sword for defeating the giant armor boss without taking damage. During all the rocks falling, it's revealed that the teacher who has been helping Voldemort is Professor Quirrell, and not Professor Snape, who the gang originally thought, and he runs into the final boss room. But before challenging him, we pick up the final portion of the entire playthrough to unlock the Forbidden Collector achievement for collecting all of the chocolate frogs and potions in the Forbidden Corridor. As we enter the boss room, we see the Mirror of Erised, and as Harry looks into it, he sees himself holding the Philosopher's Stone. And then we get jumpscared by Quirrell and Voldemort. Holy crap, this game is actually terrifying. With that, the battle begins. Voldemort casts green magic to attack us, and he also traps us in vines that we have to rapidly tap to get out of. By charging Flipendo, I can knock down the stone pillars to damage him. Doing this enough times gets us into the second phase of the battle. Voldemort now fires 3 green projectiles at us, with the 4th being a huge one that we can just about dodge by moving all the way to the left or to the right. I can now damage him by by charging up the mirror, which blasts him. Doing this a couple of times takes us into the final phase of the battle, and I unlock an achievement. This is the Dark Lord everyone's afraid of, for defeating Voldemort without taking damage before the 3rd phase. Crazy, I didn't even know what to expect coming into this fight, and I've already done it hitless, and I can see why before the 3rd phase, as here, Voldemort has us on the ground, and we just have to rapidly tap square for energy and press X to do damage to him, but he's doing damage to us over time. After a lot of button bashing, Voldemort is finally defeated, unlocking the achievement He Who Must Not Be Named's Demise, for defeating Lord Voldemort. After the battle, we get a storybook cutscene of Dumbledore talking to Harry in the hospital wing. He explains that the whole school knows about the battle and Harry had won against Lord Voldemort, for now. Ron shows up and gives us the final wizard card, which is of Harry himself, which we got given for having all of the other witches and wizard cards in the entire game. And even though Harry just got out of the battle of his life, it's suddenly time for one final game of Quidditch against Slytherin. Of course, I easily win this Quidditch match, popping the achievement No Jinx Brooms this time, for winning the Gryffindor vs Slytherin match during Adventure Mode, and we get treated to the final cutscene of the game. The cutscene shows that Slytherin is currently winning the House Cup with the most points. However, Dumbledore then gives out an extra 60 points to Harry, making Gryffindor the winners of the House Cup. The game is finished, but we actually have one final achievement to grab. Turns out, all this time at the title screen, I've had an extra option: play Quidditch. Yeah, even though I've won all the major matches throughout the Adventure Mode, there are 6 extra games of Quidditch to play in order to earn the Quidditch Cup for Gryffindor. So, I played the quickest games of Quidditch I've ever played in my life, listening to Lee Jordan yell the same things for half an hour.
Here comes a Slytherin seeker! I've not seen such flying! Amazing skill!
And finally unlock the last achievement of the set, free tickets to the Quidditch World Cup, for winning the Quidditch Cup for Gryffindor. And with that, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's / Sorcerer's Stone has finally been mastered. If you want to know the next game I'm gonna master, all you have to do is subscribe. Thanks for watching.